15th of March. This is obviously the communities part of the committee to begin with. Can I ask one last time for Sharon? It won't be one last time because I'll do education as well. Do we have any apologies, substitutions or declarations of interest?
Convener, yes, we have apologies from Councillor Chris McElhenney and from Reverend Burt for the education part of the agenda. And I think that's I think Councillor Wilson is in now, and I think that's a full house of elected members. I think there should be 10, and we've got 10.
Okay. So is Chris got a substitute, or?
I was just checking my emails and I haven't. I was just checking my emails and I haven't got anything so far from him. So no, not so far.
Okay.
Maybe I will have somebody for the education part, but not at this stage. No.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. Declarations of interest, myself for Inverclyde Leisure. I'm sure Lynn will be the same as well. Do we have any other declarations of interest from anybody? No. Can we move along to agenda item number 2, which is the performance report, obviously reduced because of the COVID. Can I ask Ruth to maybe introduce each part of the agenda, and then what I'll do is just open it up to questions for members. And obviously we've got everybody here, we've got Eddie here, we've got Hugh here, and we've got Tony here, and they'll be able to ask any questions, answer any questions. Ruth, over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is the performance report for the communities part of the committee. Paragraph 4.1 outlines the revenue budget, and 4.2 outlines the capital programme, and there are details in the appendix. Happy to take any questions on the specifics of the report.
Thank you, Ruth. And obviously we've got Ian here as well. I should have said, obviously, if you can indicate on the chat if you've got any questions. No questions?
Yeah, Jim.
Yep. Sorry, Jim McLeod.
Yeah, Jim. Ruth, I just want. Sorry, is this on the whole of section 2 here? You're wanting questions, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Under 4.2 about the indoor sports facility for tennis, I just wondered, do we have any? Do we have a date yet when we're likely to think things could be, finally finished? I mean, it's obviously understand there's been circumstances which have held things up. But have any idea when we could be looking at a new facility being opened?
Through you, convener. Things are progressing. Obviously, we've taken 2 steps forward, 1 step back on this, but all I can say is things are progressing, and we've been in contact with Sports Scotland about taking this forward. But I can say, I mean, I've just been dealing with some emails on the matter this morning. So yes, things are progressing, but accepted not as quickly as we would like.
Any supplementary?
Yeah, I mean, so we don't have any sort of idea where it'll be next year, the following year, or whenever. We just don't have any idea time scale at all.
I would hesitate to put any time scale on it just because of our experience in the past.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. We've got a question from Martin in the chat. He's looking for an update on Lady Alice Bowling Club, if there's been any external funding been given yet or any indication. It's probably best to Hugh in that one.
For yourself, convener. There's not been any funding approved yet. Only funding that's been approved is the £192,000 that we've still got sitting from the council's fund. But the bowling club are working very closely with Community Scotland now to make applications to a number of funders. We're hopeful that these funding bids will get in the next couple of weeks to try and to get to the subsidies of the balance of £150,000 that's outstanding to do the works that the club have got the aspirations to do.
Okay, thanks, Hugh. Martin, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions than that, can we agree the recommendations? And can we move on to agenda item number 3? And that's Education and Communities Committee, expedited business. It's hard for me to say, operational log for the communities part of the committee. And again, I'll ask Ruth to introduce it.
I'll go through this paper paragraph by paragraph, perhaps, if that's best, and then have any questions at the end.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Ruth.
paragraph 4.1 is the regenerational capital funding, and obviously the two grants have been successful: the King George VI Community Hub and also the Inverclyde Shed. And the request from that paragraph is to grant delegated authority to myself to receive the funds on behalf of the council. 4.2 is an overview of successful bids for cultural recovery planning. A couple of big funding bids have been successful, bringing a lot of money into Inverclyde and that aspect. 4.3 is the Community Learning and Development Annual Report, and please, I would urge members to take a look at that. There's a lot of excellent work going on, but the specific ask of the committee today is for approval for that report. 4.4 is the grants to voluntary organisations and the under-19 sports grants. The applications for grants were all put through, so there was 34 applications successful. For this part of the committee, we're asking for approval for the one organisation for £10,000 to come through this committee, and that's for Fort Matilda Tennis Club. Paragraph 4.5, the subsidised swimming for under-16s. As we'll know, there was a lot of discussion at the last committee about taking this forward. So we have come forward with what we feel is a pragmatic proposal, given the current circumstances. So that will be to defer the implementation of this saving until March 2022, and all of the proposals are outlined in the bullet points, and we're seeing this as a pragmatic step to take this forward. And paragraph 4.6 is to ask for approval for the Inverclyde Leisure Strategic Plan.
Okay, thanks, Ruth. First questions from David Wilson. David?
Thank you, convener. Ruth, at 4.4, grants to voluntary organisations. Have I missed it? Did we get a copy of that? Of all the ones who've been granted?
Ruth?
I'll hand over to Hugh.
Yeah.
No, not
Tony.
Sorry, convener, through you. No, we haven't given a copy of all the ones that have been granted, but we will, once approved, we will publicise them as we always do.
But why not tell us now? Why have we not been told before now?
The agreement from committee last year was to do, for this year only, do the grants this way, and we've specifically asked for approval for one for £10,000, so and the rest would be for nothing.
Tony, I think that's fine. I think Councillor Wilson's point is, as elected members, we should have at least been told who's been successful in the grants, because obviously a lot of them will be in our own areas. Can I ask Tony that he provides that to all the elected members as quickly as possible?
Yeah.
And I think that will solve David's, and it is a reasonable request to make. I think that we probably should have done it, but it will be a one-off this year and it'll go back to normal next year. But if Tony, if you can make sure that all the elected members are informed of who were successful in the grants, and hopefully that'll help out.
No problem.
Thank you very much, convener. In my view, there's been far too much under emergency powers being held back by officers. We should be informed right away about this sort of information and these sort of decisions. But thank you for intervening, convener.
Okay, thanks. And I'll go to Chris Curley next. Chris?
Thank you, convener. I obviously also want to thank the officers for what you call discussing these issues around the free swimming for under-16s with myself. I think the solution is pragmatic. I think it does give us hopefully a lot more information on who's utilising the free swimming at present going forward, and obviously gives and from that we can see the effectiveness of the policy, which is, I think, primarily what we want to do. I think from our point of view as a group, we note that the savings being deferred, but we'll take cognizance of that when we're looking at the budget next year. But we're certainly happy to support the ongoing free swimming for this year, and look forward to receiving the report to see the effectiveness of the policy.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Tony, can I ask you, just under the grants to Volorgs, obviously we've been asked to recommend the £10,000 for the tennis. Can you maybe expand on that, of how you've came to that decision, and what sort of reason you were given for that? Because I think that will help members as well, rather than just blanketly approving the decisions.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So the tennis club is currently undertaking refurbishment works, which is largely funded by itself. However, this £10,000 would be there to complete the works needed to the courts. A similar award was made to our Gowan Tennis Club in the last round of grants too, and it was for a similar aspect. So the recommendation was to award the £10,000 in order that Fort Matilda can complete. And as you know, our Gowan and Fort Matilda are part of we're working in partnership with them around the tennis centre as well. So it's about just the partnership approach that we have for promoting tennis, albeit we don't have the tennis centre yet, but across Inverclyde. So that was the context for providing that £10,000.
Thanks, Tony. Lynn, does that answer your query? Have you maybe a supplementary to ask on that?
Yeah, I think I just agree with Councillor Wilson. It's really difficult for us. So either the decision is somewhere else and they take the entirety of the decision that we don't see, but it's really difficult for me as an elected member to sit here and approve a £10,000 when I actually don't see the full allocation and see where it's in context, and why, you know, if everyone else get £500 and suddenly we get 10,000, then that might be something that seems out of proportion. So it's really difficult to approve the 10,000, I think, without seeing the full list of what's been approved, so it all fits in there. So especially because if there was no recommendation here for us to approve, that would be fine. But I think because we're asked for this recommendation, then we're kind of recommending blind, really. So
okay. I'll let Ruth come in on that one. Ruth?
Any proposal for over £10,000 would need to come to this committee, and that's been that's why it's in front of you today. And that's always been the case. Anything under £10,000 is the subcommittee, and I appreciate the comments and absolutely respect the comments about wanting to see the oversight, and we will get the oversight of all the grants. But to be clear, that it's coming to the committee because that's what we need to do to get anything over £10,000 approved.
Yeah, and take that, and I think that the worry is of what we're seen to be doing is just rubber stamping a decision without actually knowing the context of the decision. I think that's both what David and Lynn are getting at here. You know, it's in a paper, we're getting asked to approve it, but in what context are we approving it? You've highlighted that we've got to do it because it's over 10,000. We know it has been through Tony, and we know it's been through scrutiny. I assume by previous comments that Graham has seen it as well, and he's agreed to it as the chair of that particular committee. But I suppose that will be probably the last round, or is there more spend to be done under that auspices?
No, this will be the last round done in that, under those arrangements. If the reviews, I'll be bringing proposals to obviously to the next committee. But it will be, you know, principally for elected members to make decisions on grants going forward.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Ruth. Lynn and David, is that okay? Is that explanation okay? Okay, thanks. Martin, I'll let you come in. Obviously, we would normally have a full paper on the CLD and the good work they've done. So I'll let you to come in and comment, Martin.
No, I just think that the CLD have played a key role in dealing with this emergency, and I would like to express my own thanks, and I'm sure the thanks of other members, for all of the humanitarian aid conducted by the CLD. And I hope that you convey those thanks to your staff.
I will
Thanks.
do. I will do, Provost.
Thanks, Martin. I think we all join in with that, Hugh, because we know that your staff really have worked their socks off over this last year. So just put our thanks to them all. I'll let Councillor MacLeod come in just now. Jim?
Yep,
Have you got any
thanks, Jim.
questions?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. First of all, Convener, sorry, I should have, when we were asked about any declarations of interest, I should have mentioned I'm a non-executive director of Parkway Branching Out, and of course they were one of the organisations who had put in a funding bid for the Regeneration Capital Grant Fund. Sadly, they were unsuccessful, but I should have declared that, so if it can please be noted. I agree wholeheartedly with yourself and Martin about CLD. I think they've done a fantastic job over the last year. Obviously, they've been doing a lot of work they don't normally do in dealing with things around our community and helping our community and delivering food and other things. So please, Hugh, express our thanks for that. Going to the grants to Ball Lords, totally agree with David Anlin. It's been a very, very, very difficult. You know, we need to have that information, because many of it's been mentioned. Many of the organisations and sports groups are in each of our wards. Can I ask, when the information is sent out to members, as well as providing information about what organisations or sports groups have been successful, can you also please add the ones who have been unsuccessful, or perhaps the ones who have been deferred as well? And if we can maybe have some sort of reason behind that as well. And lastly, can I just ask, is there any money left in either the Grants to Vol.org fund and also the sports fund? Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. We'll let Tony come in with that one. Tony?
Okay, there's no funding left in the GTVO. That's now all been allocated, but there is some money left under the under-19s, partly because people have been unable to play sport to the same extent. So there is a balance. I don't know off the heart just now, but the GTVO is fully allocated, but the under-19s still has a balance.
And just to confirm, Tony, that you're able to supply the information that Councillor MacLeod, Jim, was asking for regarding
yes,
ones who didn't succeed and any deferred. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim.
Thanks.
I'm trying to see it. I don't see anything else in the chat. So can we just quickly go to the recommendations? As you can see, Ruth has already spoke to many of the recommendations. So it's the recommendations at 3.1 and the bullet points. Note the contents of the report, delegated authority regarding the Regeneration Capital Grants Fund, the annual report in CLD, the £10,000 for Folk Matilda, the under-16 swimming, and the Inverclyde Leisure Strategic Plan. Can we all agree on them? Okay, thanks very much, everybody. And that is the expedited business over very, very swiftly today. Can I thank you very much for that? And you never know, maybe even the 4 o'clock meeting will go smoothly. So can I thank you all, and I'll see you all at 4 o'clock. Thank you.